Saturday, 14th of March, 2026 at 11:15 a.m. here in Amsterdam, North Holland, the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Welcome once again to our cosmic journey. This is your Devon Design astrology podcast featuring two boys in flesh and blood and not circuitry, building the world's best astrology software. I am the flesh and bone, the designer, Jake. More than just flesh and bone. Hello. And then that's Trey. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
Boy, I messed up.
Hello, hopefully also ensouled flesh.
Well, I mean, I have my bone. That's not my bone necklace. Ooh, it's always mirrored. This is my little bone necklace. I feel like there's ensoling that happens there. Yeah, I have a soul. I know that I'm a.
The jury's out on that. Let's put that on the shelf for later discussion.
That will be episode number 131, where we talk about whether I have a soul or not. I am a CEO, so by definition, I should not have a soul.
True.
Sorry to all my CEO friends out there.
I think
that
you
are watching this podcast.
You just have to pretend. You just have to pretend you don't have a soul.
Easy. No, I have to pretend that I do have a soul.
Oh, right, because you don't.
Right.
You inherently don't.
Exactly. Okay, let's get to the agenda. Today's episode is called How AI Ensured That We Can Never Truly Love Again. It is going to feature Mr. Henry,
robot.
A sad little robot, Mr. Little Henry, and Mr. Little Jake Zukowski talking about how they were duped, whatever.
Lulled into a false sense of security.
S-blank-M-I-T-E-D. Smited, slighted, spited by robots into something that was super bad. So this is what we would normally call a big feelings episode. So tuck in, everybody, because usually these big feelings episodes are like 35 minutes long, but we don't know how long it's going to be because we are in the past. Mr. Henry, it is your check-in question before we get to all that. So are you ready to go?
I sure am.
I am too. Let's do it.
What is one thing you wish AI could do for you today that it does not currently?
I wish that AI could do laundry for me that is not currently done. The fact that AI can't do laundry is a real shame because yes, it can make really fun, pictures of me and Doc and Trey. And it can also help with really kind of poor writing. If you've ever done copywriting with AI, boy, oh boy, it's going to give you the biggest slop ever. Like the way in which you can try to communicate effectively and emotionally towards human beings, and AI can't do it, but AI acts like it can do it. Just do the things that clean that towel, clean that microwave, put the dishes from here into the dishwasher. Whoa, the mirror. Having a hard time today. See the steam wand? Make me coffee. Do that. Why are you doing all the other things?
Yeah, I think your critique is that its inherently digital nature means that it doesn't do a lot of the things that would provide the most value.
Right. Well, I guess also the digital nature of certain tasks that I categorize. Let's go back to me for a second. Oh boy.
Here we go.
I categorize tasks by energy level. I don't use priority. The only thing that I say is whether a task is fun, creative, easy, or boring. Those are the four categories of tasks that I have. If I could assign all of my boring tasks to AI, that would be great. But it can't do boring tasks either because boring tasks usually require you to go through many steps of a process in order to do a thing. And allegedly, we have these agents that can do all of this stuff for me, but it can't.
But nobody can demonstrate that they actually can.
They can't do anything. And also, I can't trust the agent to do the things in the right way anyway. So I can't have it go buy me shoes. I can't have it buy me a shirt. Even that's a little bit boring. But I even know that it can't do that. I wouldn't trust it if it would make a trip. If I could assign all of my digital boring tasks, do my taxes, for example, to the AI and I could trust that it could do it, that would be great. But it can't do that. It can only do the things that are in either easy, kind of, or creative, but I want to do creative. Why do you, it just sucks. Anyways.
Shout outs to Heather Freeman for the idea of categorizing your tasks, like your GTD tasks based on energy level. Jake took it to the next level, but that was originally her thing, which I think is just really cool.
What about you? What do you want AI to do that it's not doing today?
I would love for AI be able to do my what we call getting your life right tasks. So the things that I have to do in GTD to review my projects and find out, and determine whether or not are these things still valid, whatever. So I would love to just be here is here's my Obsidian like GTD database, point the AI at it, and then just be like, manage a bunch of my life stuff, even just from a digital perspective. So far, I have not been able to get it to do this. It seems like it should be well within the wheelhouse.
Yeah. So we both have like organized task lists that we could feed an AI stuff from, and it could do those things. I know that things like Obsidian or Notion can be second brains for you, so that you can have an agent that kind of talks to that database and has more context about your life. But also, like, none of that has been really useful either.
And when we talked to somebody who's doing exactly that with Obsidian, they're using Claude, but still, they were saying that it's been really great, and but didn't give actually any real examples of what it's doing or how it's doing it. And so, much like the rest of the hype train, it was just kind of like, it sounds good.
Sounds good.
But can you show me something?
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah. It's all thoughts and prayers at this point.
It's all thoughts and prayers.
And we are results-driven boys. Speaking, good check-in, everybody. So speaking of results, and therefore results that have hurt us greatly, buckle up, everybody. It's time for the emotional part of the show. Mr. Henry, do you want to talk a little bit about what had gone down this week in the sphere of Cosmic and the stuff digitally, and why that hurt us? And I say that because we had also moved a bunch of stuff from Berlin, and we had all the things we had to do this week, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's always a lot of other stuff going
on. There was
a lot of stuff going on this week.
Exactly.
But yeah, so basically, without getting into too much detail, we had used AI to make a recommendation on the implementation of how we store authentication tokens in the application. Because AI doesn't actually know anything, it is simply a something like a linear regression through a very, very fancy, complicated array. The shape of the question and the stuff that is in the model produced an answer which is correct in one case and very incorrect in another.
Yeah, it didn't fully understand the context enough to give a fully correct answer, even though you gave it its context. And I think that's the thing.
It had all of the context I could possibly give it.
And I think that's really annoying, because if you didn't give the context to the AI, well, how is it supposed to know these things? And this is true for human beings, right? Like when you don't talk about what your needs or your feelings are, and then someone doesn't meet your needs or feelings, that's kind of on you. But you went out of your way to be very clear about the context and the space that you're working in, right?
And not just me, because I think the question that we were asking is fairly straightforward. The context is all provided by the code. We're using ChatGPT Codex, and it has complete access to the repository, the code base, everything. So it has all of the information, in theory, necessary to go and answer the questions. Now, pulling all of that information into context is pretty costly. And so what the AI will do is it will make a determination on what things it needs to go and look at in order to answer the question. However, I will usually point it at the salient files to hint it at, like, go look at this, stuff is here, go look at this, stuff is here. And that's what happened in this case as well. And part of the problem, everybody I'm sure has heard this or has had this experience with AI, is that AI is never unsure. It never communicates a level of assuredness. Like, here's my answer. This has 45% chance of being correct.
Yeah, it doesn't know.
Because that's very hard to, if they could identify that, then they could use that as a heuristic to give you better answers.
Right.
So it doesn't know, and so it comes across as being very authoritative.
It's very confident.
It's very confident, and you should always question, of course. And we talked to a CTO, and a good friend of ours who's a very, very good CTO, about the exact, like, some of the details about this particular issue. And his feedback was, well, when using AI for this kind of stuff, like, you need to make sure that you have, you have validation, you have the ability to validate the result that it's giving you. Now, in this particular case, it wasn't so much, it did code parts of the domain, but it wasn't that it did a bad job with code. It actually just did a bad job with the direction that things needed to go. And so
an intern could have done the same. I
Yeah.
guess that's the point, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
exactly.
could have easily anchored on a thing and just gone down a really poor road.
Yeah, yeah, and this is something that Jake and I talked about was the difference between if you hire an intern and an intern goes down a wrong path. So you give them a chunk of work, they kind of go off, they iterate on it, maybe they ask you a couple of questions, they come back, they're like, "This is what I'm doing." You're like, "Yeah, on the surface that looks great." And then after a while, you realize that it wasn't a great decision or we went down a wrong path or whatever. Then you would sit down with that intern and you'd be like, let's learn together, right? Like what happened here? How did we miss this, et cetera, et cetera. And you would do it that way for a broad spectrum of problems because there is a cost to, as our CTO friend was saying, ensuring that the output is correct. It's actually almost impossible to ensure the output is correct. It is possible to, in some cases, ensure that it doesn't break in certain ways, but even that has a cost to it. And so how much time are you going to spend writing a suite of tests to ensure that, or try to ensure that the answer that you arrive at is a good one? When we talked through this, I explained all of the details to our CTO friend and said, I don't know how I still don't know, even in hindsight, what I could have done in order to know that this was not the right path. All that to say, I think, to finish my thought on the intern thing, you would sit down with that intern, you would kind of go through all of those details, and you would learn together, and then the intern would get better. And if the intern didn't get better, then you would not hire them again the next summer. Or if they were a junior employee, you would get rid of them because you'd say, like, look, we've done this 3 times now, and you don't seem to be learning.
Yeah,
So,
because the idea is that like we always think that failure is the enemy of success, but failure is not the enemy of success. It is the lack of learning that is the enemy of success.
Yes.
Failure is a teacher and a harsh one.
Yeah.
And so you put your failures together and you find the reasoning in kind of the core of where you failed, and then you learn from that. That's making failure work for you, right? And the problem that we have with AI today is that it does not seem to treat failure as a teacher because it doesn't understand failure. And also we can say, this is wrong. I can show you why this is wrong. And then the AI will be like, oh, I see what you're talking about and whatever. And the reason that they're saying, I see what you're talking about is because it's not programmed to say that, but it's
right.
the way in which the models are made are
You're just prompting it, and it's giving you a different.
It's there to say, give fake humility about this whole thing. And you've probably dealt with people that are like this, right? That are like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. And you're like, do you understand? Do you care? Did you learn anything? Because if you haven't learned, and this is back to Trey's point, and I'm kind of just reinforcing Trey's point. If you hire someone and they failure and they don't treat failure as a teacher to learn and grow from, you don't want to keep those people in your employ. Very CEO talk right now, right? And it's just hard to now deal with a tool that acts like a human being and then say to yourself, oh, right, it's not human, right? It just sounds like a human. I can't teach it that failure is the best tool by which you can learn from. It doesn't seem like the LLM or the AI is understanding that it's making mistakes because that's where it finds success. It learns from its mistakes. I guess that's the point that I'm trying to say.
Right. And AI does learn, but it doesn't learn from anything that you're doing with it. The only time that AI learns is when they're training the model and what they train the model on, and et cetera, et cetera. And while it is possible, if you are able to, if you've got the hardware to run one of the open source models locally, you can actually train it yourself. So you could, for example, in my case with my Obsidian notes, I could train a model on my notes, and then there would be a lot more. It wouldn't just be context that's pulled in to a language model. It would actually have some intrinsic knowledge about the stuff. But then it would get out of date quickly, and then I'd have to retrain it, and that's also costly. So anyway, the point being, it's not learning from individual interactions with AI. All you can do is provide it with context, and you can't provide it with a context of give me better answers, give me more correct answers.
Yeah. So to this end, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, I have a question for you. It's a kind of follow-up question about all of this. So
Surprise question, everybody.
surprise second checking question, because it's a big feelings day. Thomas J. Watson, I was looking for this quote. Thomas J. Watson was the CEO of IBM for many, many years.
Oh, right.
In the early 20th century.
Really cool person.
Really cool person, great leadership style. One of the things that he said is, when asked how to achieve success more rapidly, came the quick reply, double your failure rate. And so we have failed here. And the question I would say to you is, yes, we could turn away from failure from AI and say, okay, AI is not useful and I don't want to, this is where the agenda came in. We're like,
fire AI.
Right? Like, oh, this is like a joke, right? Like, we can never truly love again because we had a failure here. But my question to you, Mr. Henry, is now that how are you going to lean into this to maybe even further your failure rate so that you can achieve success more rapidly? Like, what are you going to now do? Not protectionist, but like, maybe how would you embrace AI in a way that would actually make your failure rate go up?
One of the things that came out of the conversation with our CTO friend is how to best align the problems that you're giving AI with the kinds of answers it's likely to do a good job with, right? So when this came up, which we didn't find this until we didn't, this particular issue that we're talking about today that we had with AI, it was actually, the seed for this was planted months ago and didn't really come up until recently. The time window in which that happened, I think we were a little bit more naive on AI than we are now. So one of the things that Jake and I talked about is how to better align the problems around the things that AI is likely to do well. And so when it comes to costing things, so when we have humans that are working on problems, we cost things based on a kind of t-shirt sizing cost of small, medium, large, extra large.
It's the same thing that we talked about when it comes to like tasks. Tasks are either easy or boring, all the way to creatives, and that's a spectrum of effort that you have to put into it.
Yeah, exactly. In this particular case, we do it based on what's called relative complexity.
Yeah.
So we have a complexity baseline that we say, like, okay, putting a button on a page, generally, like, if you imagine how much work that is, then that would be our easy bar, and then you kind of scale that up or down. This gives us kind of a way to just generally provide a kind of scoring system so we can get an idea of our velocity. When it comes to AI, the way that we are going to start scoring the tasks that we give to AI is based on the risk associated with it. So is it a small amount of risk? In other words, is it a very bounded problem that we know that we can test the solution for? Is it a medium risk where AI is likely to do a good job with this, but we should probably put some extra time and effort as a human into validating it? And then sort of the high risk category, which is maybe get some advice from AI on this, but definitely check everything and don't let it code it, don't let it create the answer. Like, you create the answer, maybe get the help of AI. And so by breaking things down this way, hopefully we can optimize our use of AI so that we're getting the most value out of it with the least amount of risk.
Yeah. And we're going to let you know how it goes. But that will be a future episode. Wow. Just look at the clock here. We did that in under 20 minutes. Pre-edit, we are at 21 minutes and 56 seconds.
Wow.
Whatever you're seeing on the timer on this bar down here is different than that because we had some fumbles and foibles. But you know what? We're getting better and more efficient at dealing with our big feelings. And I love that for us.
Yeah.
What should the good viewer do on the rest of their beautiful mid-March Saturday, Mr. Henry?
Figure out how you can make the most out of AI.
Yeah, you are not the type of person that is going to mitigate conversations and mediate conversations between two AIs. You're better than that. Go forth, be well, have yourself a beautiful Saturday or whatever day you are watching this video. We love seeing your faces every single week, and we're going to see your face again next week because you're going to click on that button when you see our video, right? Of course you are. Comment below, do well, be great, go swim in a canal, and we're going to talk to you later. Goodbye.
Bye.